Welcome into WagerTalk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Robbie Vino of WagerTalk.com. Guys, we're talking Saturday college football action here. We got Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, making the trip to Charlottesville, Virginia to take on the Virginia Cavaliers. We're seeing Notre Dame. They opened up minus 4.5 point road favorites here, Rob Vino. Now we're seeing 5.5 pretty much across the board, 64.5 about the total right now. What are we liking here? Is Notre Dame winning and covering 4 straight up against Virginia here at home off of a bye? Interesting handicap, Robbie.
Yeah, and very reminiscent, Drew, when you start to dig into it. I mean, you really don't even have to dig. You can look at the surface of this game and say it's really reminiscent or mirror image of the Notre Dame North Carolina game just a couple of weeks ago. We'll get into that in a second here. Virginia off a bye week. Scheduling helps them. It hasn't, there's a couple of ifs in this game, injury-wise, that has prevented me from playing it already. On the Notre Dame side, we have All-America safety Kyle Hamilton, who's been out now for, I think, 3 games since USC. Boy, it makes a difference in the vulnerability of that Notre Dame pass defense. I mean, Hamilton projected to be, by some, the second overall pick in the NFL draft, plays a big role in that secondary. And then on the other side, Brennan Armstrong, who got hurt in the BYU game, status is still unclear. So we got 2 guys with unclear status, real important, significant pieces to each team here. Where Armstrong is concerned, let me go through this because this sounds more like gamesmanship on the part of Bronco Mendenhall than anything else. When asked about Brennan Armstrong's injury yesterday, Bronco Mendenhall said he has no update. He probably won't even have an update until kickoff, which is 7:30 Saturday night, by the way. So according to him, he's not going to know anything about his quarterback for the next 6 days. He said Brennan Armstrong doesn't have to practice in order to play. He said he could watch practice from a window across the street and still start on Saturday if he's ready to go. And then in the same breath, Drew, he says that he plans on having Mendenhall as his starting quarterback Saturday. He told the press that he doesn't see any benefit to letting them know whether or not Armstrong's going to go. You read between all these lines, and it seems to me like the quarterback who had the extra week off because they're off of a bye week to get ready, it sounds like he will go. It sounds like Bronco Mendenhall wants to keep Notre Dame in limbo, to me. Notre Dame not knowing. I'm sure Notre Dame's going to prepare for Brennan Armstrong. After all, he's the quarterback of the number 1 pass offense in the country. So we'll see. But those answers just don't add up. I'm going to assume here midweek as we do this that Brennan Armstrong probably goes as I try to decipher the code that Bronco Mendenhall is leaving us. But let's look at this matchup because Virginia's defense, wow, it's a sieve. It's an absolute sieve. And you take a look at the matchup, that'll be Notre Dame's offense against Virginia's defense. Running back Kyron Williams for Notre Dame should have a field day here. He's going to go up against a run defense. Last time we saw it, they were allowing BYU running back Tyler Algier 29 carries, 266 yards, 9.2 a carry, and 5 touchdowns for the running back from BYU. I said earlier that this game sort of sets up to me as very similar to the UNC game a couple of weeks ago when Notre Dame played. In that contest, North Carolina with Sam Howell, a very good pass offense, had the luxury of not having Kyle Hamilton in the defensive secondary for Notre Dame, and they put up big numbers against them. In that game also for Notre Dame, Kyron Williams had 22 carries, 199 yards, 9 yards a pop, and a 91-yard touchdown run. So, North Carolina and Virginia mirror each other in so many ways that you almost have to treat this game. Just look back to what happened 2 weeks ago, and you can probably get a real good gauge on what's going to happen here. Notre Dame threw for 230 yards in that game. They play called heavy towards the run, 42-26. Wouldn't be surprised if they do that here. They should have success on the ground. Taking a look at Notre Dame quarterback Jack Cohn, who's drawn a lot of heat throughout the season for not performing up to the Notre Dame fan base expectations. But the last 4 weeks, Jack Cohn's been great. to tell you the truth, he's 68 of 93, 73% completions, 4 TDs, only 1 touchdown, 779 passing yards. So that's plenty good enough for Notre Dame if they can run the football the way they should be able to here. They've only allowed 2 sacks in 4 games. Virginia doesn't get to the quarterback. It just seems like a pile of points are awaiting Notre Dame, who put up 44 in that game against North Carolina. I'd look for a similar number. If Armstrong can go, then this 64 is way too low. I mean, we just saw the BYU Virginia game hit well into the hundreds with points scored. Virginia can't stop anybody. Notre Dame without Hamilton, I don't believe will be able to stop the Virginia pass offense. This is a 7:30 nighttime game in Charlottesville hosting Notre Dame. They'll be well motivated for this contest. I think 64 and a half, whatever the number is still too low. Have to really wait on Brennan Armstrong because it does make a difference. But again, I'm reading into what Mendenhall is saying and believing that Armstrong goes here. I think the line movement, Drew, from 4.5 up to 5.5, partially because there's some question around Armstrong. But if he really wasn't going to go, we would have saw this line take off already from 4.5, maybe to 7.5, 8. So look for him to be ready here. I think Notre Dame, Virginia up and over 64.5 points.
Yeah, Robbie, great analysis there. I mean, you bring up a lot of facts. You're talking about the number 1 passer in the country, guys, and Armstrong, the quarterback for Virginia. Robbie, I was doing some research on this game, saw an interview he was doing there, a burger shop, which was opening up in Charlottesville, Virginia there. And I think it was part of his NIL deal. He was their spokesperson. And the local reporter was asking him, hey, are you going to play? And he's like, oh, I'm 100%. I feel great. I don't know if he said 100%, but he was like, I can do everything. So I look at that as him playing, plus the fact you talking about Mendenhall saying, he would start if he was watching the practice from a window across the street, whatever,
right.
Metaphor you use. That makes me think that is a huge drop off to the backup quarterback, and the head coach would know that. So watch out here. I think it's pretty, injury dependent, guys, both side and total, that Armstrong plays. Maybe something to wait right before kickoff. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed the video. For Rob Vino, I am Drew Martin. Check us out at WagerTalk.com. And guys, remember, Monday's a great day to do so. We call it $9 Monday. Every handicapper, all plays discounted to just $9. That's on Monday. Check it out, WagerTalk.com.